Hey, good evening, everybody. Sammy Thunder here. Welcome back to another Vintage Chill and Chat. I hope everybody's having a nice start to what should be a great weekend. Um, Sorry I couldn't do it on Tuesday. Had a wasn't feeling 100% in terms of my health, but I am recuperating as we go, and feel like I'm on the other side of that now. So. Looking forward to this weekend because I was really I didn't think I was going to be doing any more card shows until the national because one, my inventory has at the time was getting pretty weak, so it didn't have um, as many cards to sell. But now, if you guys haven't watched the video yet, um, I essentially have taken on a consignment that has really gotten me to um, be able to go to have a lot of inventory for my next couple of shows. So there's a lot to be excited about that. I was gonna spend some time showing some of the highlights of that collection. Essentially, how this went down, if anyone's curious, on Reddit, there was a post that was made on the Reddit, one of the baseball cards subreddit page, and it was a photo of inquiring some information about whether or not to grade of a 1970 Transagram Nolan Ryan. And you guys know how much I really appreciate and enjoy the Transagram collections. So I reached out, I wanted to help. So I responded back. And then next thing was that I started messaging the user on Reddit. Found out he inquired with me about having a big collection, wanted to know if I'd be interested in helping him um, do a consignment. So, of course, that's a good opportunity. Might as well definitely take him up on that, take a look and see what he has. And so, made plans. We were, lived nearby each other. So I went over to his house in his basement, saw his cards, and just exceeded my expectations in terms of what was there. Um, he does this. His name is Mike, and I think Mike does this for full time. He does a lot of eBay sales, so he's been kind of focusing a lot on that. And so we talked it over. I had to think it through a little bit in terms of how I was going to make this work logistically, how this is going to happen. And so I told him that, all right, let me think on this. Let me think about a strategy, and I'll come back. So came back. We discussed a strategy as far as how I'm going to do this. I told them we'll be setting up at shows, and that I will provide like a spreadsheet for all the big major cards, and we'll kind of just keep an inventory tracking that way, and just kind of go from there. And certain expenses will be covered. We'll decide which cards will be best for grading, which I'll show you guys tonight as well. I know some of you have inquired about some of the cards. So Jim, I see that you're here, so I will show you those Nolan Ryans you were asking about. But I'm still in the process of pricing everything. I mean, it's a massive intake of inventory, so I mean it's a good thing. And Mike has been, I mean, he's been obtaining collections. I think he still does it. So good on Mike. I appreciate him for entrusting me with this and for providing me this opportunity. So if Mike watches this, thank you again, man. And other news, got my custom card ready to go, guys. It's kind of tacky, I know, the Transagram card. So got the front, and then back shows as QR codes for my YouTube and Instagram page. And additionally, guys, got the got the sticker. So I'll bring these with me to the national, hand these out. That's how everything's gonna go. I'm just gonna check with everybody in the chat first. Andrew says you had an MRI today. You're feeling dizzy now. I hope you're doing okay, buddy. I know that can be quite stressful. Orlando's here. Got Matt is here. Jim and Andrew again. Yes, sir. Gary's here. Detroit Collector. Mookie, I'm watching at work. I'm super psyched for seeing these cards at Garfield. Yes. That's where I'll be on Sunday. Hey, Reese. How's it going, buddy? You'll have to autograph those cards. Yeah, I will. Orlando, of course. I'll have these ready to go. So, joining me is is none other than Ed McMahon.
Here's Sammy. Oh my God! You'll have to describe that to everybody. What a moron I am.
No,
that was phenomenal.
No, it's all good. I sent Jason an invite, and but instead of saying, "Hey, Jason, join if you can," I said, "Join when you're ready, Ed," because Jason referred to the Vintage Chillin' Chats as me being Johnny Carson and him being Ed McMahon. So
yes. And so when he sent it to me and he said, "Hey, Ed, join me if you can," Ed, I said, "Sammy, this is Jason." He's like, "I know."
Right.
And I said, "Oh, I get it now."
Well, you know what? Honestly, I mean, that's a simple mistake. I mean, I wouldn't have picked up on it either. So.
Oh, now I'm going to use it forever. Now it's perfect. How are you, sir?
Good. I've just been kind of pricing things, getting things ready for Sunday. I'll show you. It's a huge stack of stuff. This is just the this is like over $10 cards.
Wow. Now, didn't you just recently buy a collection, a real good collection, if I remember properly?
Are you talking about the one at Strongsville?
No, I thought I saw a video not too recently of yours where you bought, or maybe you were just showing inventory in general.
Well, the video that I did recently was the Consignment.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
That's what this is.
Okay.
So there's tons of great stuff here. Good looking 62 Brooks. Let's see, Johnny, 72 bench. A couple of Mays, top 68s, game cards. Bunch of George Brett rookies.
Wow.
Yeah. Bill Mazeroski, tie numbers for 72s, 72 Mays, 73 Clement. I mean, it goes on. Let me see if there's a lot of just kind of consistent, like $20 to $50 cards, and then there's a few 75 over and plus, but plenty of stuff. And I price these so that that they'll move. And that was the whole agenda with the guy, Mike, whose collection this is the purpose is to price this based on market. And, but he understands that when you buy in bulk, you got to make deals. So, he's been very, very supportive over the process of me just letting me kind of price this accordingly, because for him it's it's easy money for him. Doesn't have to work at selling this, but he's happy for me to take this on.
Is it stuff that he's had for a long time, Sam? Is he getting rid of a collection, or he's not flipping and then?
Well, he's an eBay guy, so he sells stuff too. Which kind of like, I was curious why, I guess he's amassed so much stuff at this point that he would rather have somebody that he knows. I mean, he's seen my content before. He knows that that I do this. So after meeting and after kind of exchanging some information, he was on board with me being able to do this. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that is the sweet spot. For smaller shows, I mean, I don't know how big this show is. I'm assuming it's typical to our monthly shows. 25 to 50 is the sweet spot. That stuff goes quick.
Yeah, and then the $5 box. They can't really see it, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. Like I have a couple of lower grade Nolan Ryans from like these are let's see, that's a Frank Robinson. A couple of low grades 77s in there that will go for $5, and Frank Robinson 72, and a bunch of Darryl Strawberry rookies. So
That's awesome.
Pete Rose 78s that were kind of I think they're lower grades. Yeah.
I gotta imagine that stuff is all gonna. Now, how does that work with being on consignment with you? Are you keeping track of every card, or it was a bulk price and X amount is going back, and like?
Yeah. So the as far as my spreadsheet goes, it's hard to you can't really do that. I mean, I personally don't do that with the $5 cards, but based on like there's going to be a box that's going to be just purely the $5 box is going to be purely his stuff. So I'm going to know based on when things are getting pulled out of there. I know what's in there, so I'm not going to be able to. I won't lose track from that. The big dollar stuff, I need to keep track of that. That's the stuff I need to make sure that I have on, ready to go. So, and there's also, nice little fun dollar box.
Sure. And then will that be all his, so you don't have to sweat?
Exactly. Same thing. Same things.
You might actually use the Chris from Missouri method. Maybe sticker your stuff with one color and his stuff with another, and then
Yeah, well, what I've been doing is, like here's the Clemente 73. You'll notice that on the price, I have it at 25, and you'll see there's a letter C on there. That's just an indicator for me that it's consigned.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Makes all sense. Well,
but
how are you liking it? Because we've had this conversation briefly in the past. I could never be a dealer. I would want to keep everything, and I know that's in me. Are you enjoying it because you know that these are going towards bigger cards that you want? Like I looked at what you purchased at Strong's and what you've been buying. Bigger cards, and they're not cheap cards. So I mean, is that what's funding this? Is the flipping of this kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. I would say, this is going to be for me. I enjoy doing card shows, so having a really healthy inventory makes it a lot of fun. So for that's part of it. Obviously, making a little bit off of each sale is really beneficial too. As of right now, when the budget that I have for the national, without these cards, I was able to rebuild it pretty nicely over the last couple of shows with my own personal inventory. But this is just going to be a nice added bonus at this point. And so I'll do this show on Sunday. Then I'm going to do one more show next weekend as well. And we'll see how those two shows go. And if things kind of slow down, then I'll just wait till after the national to continue.
Sure.
But yeah, it's let me see. Let me try to find, like, this is crazy because I've organized these a little bit. I have to do a little more organizing. But
anything graded, Sammy?
No, actually, but I'll show that. That's a good thing. Everything is raw as that he had, but I'll show you the things that I because the discussion is what stuff do we want to send in to grade, and so he's given me full discretion on that. But I'm going to run it by him first, of course.
Sure.
Let me get to the highlights of those. There's a lot of 50 Bowmans, but they're stacked on top of some other cards.
Because even that stuff you were showing at 25 was pretty, from what I'm seeing here, was pretty sharp and pretty clean, actually.
What's that?
Even the cards you were showing at 25.
Oh, well, the Clemente, you can't really see it, but there is I guess it's like a hairline wrinkle or like an indent on it.
Okay.
And the back is, so that's why it's priced that way.
Right.
But here's the first card that we're thinking about sending in.
Oh. Yeah, this is what I saw in your video. I mean, it almost gets to the point where Hall of Famers and 50 Bowman, you just send them in regardless.
Yeah, I mean, when I tell you that every Bowman card, every 50 Bowman that he had was pretty centered, Yeah. I mean, this one I'm a little nervous about because there does seem to be a cut there. So I don't know.
I saw that when you flipped it towards the back.
Yeah,
It's
I
more
noticed it too.
prominent when you look at the back. But so what? Even if it's authentic.
Here's the 50 Duke Snyder. Yeah, the camera's not doing it justice as per usual. There you go. All of these have tape, unfortunately, but still very nice.
Gotta clean that back was like spotless on that one. So taping on the front and spotless on the back.
I know. Richie Ashburn.
That's centered well.
Yeah. And then the biggest one from the group is Ted Williams.
That's a beautiful card. That grade, whatever that grades, that's worth it.
I know.
Doesn't matter. If it's authentic, it's worth it. So
this one is kind of like, all right, so this one I never really submit 80s stuff, but this one kind of just stood out to me as being just potential. It is the tops traded 83 Darryl Strawberry. It looks way too good, and so I'm tempted by it, but I'm not, not 100% there. I'd have to see what they sell for in general, but a couple more. The Mike Schmidt rookie card.
That's a big card. That's a big card.
Here is Ed Matthews, 56.
All right, that's my wheelhouse, and I need that too. And I need it.
This one is a possibility because nice looking 73 Hank Aaron. Again, the camera's not doing it justice right now, but.
Now, what's your thought on that, Sammy? And I think I know the answer. Is it a potential because you're fearful of the grade versus the return on the value for sending it in to get graded?
If it was for my collection, I wouldn't care. But because it's not my card, first off, I have to be very, very careful with what I send in because the agreement was that he would cover the fees for the grades and the shipping and such, and so anything that gets sent in I'm going to run it by him first and be 100% sure on it. Here's a nice looking Ricky Henderson.
Yeah, but I like that card, what you're showing right there, that, and I mean, even if it's a 6 or 7, and I can't tell exactly on condition, could be an 8, could be a 9. That and like the Ted Williams, those are just like no-brainers to me. I think there's profit to be made on those cards by grading them.
And then this George Brett was probably the best one out of the bunch.
Yeah, there's no chipping.
No, the only downside is the back. That's the only thing that would hurt. But, yeah.
Ask Dylan, find a 75 that's centered. They're tough. They're hard.
Now it's crazy. I know I'm gonna defy the whole concept of this live stream being vintage chill and chat, but I couldn't. There was a box that. It was like a mixed box. I've had to do a lot of sorting, but there was a mixed box of some modern stuff too, and I was finding like Juan Soto rookie cards, like multiple Juan Soto rookies.
So I collect everything, as you know, Sammy. So that stuff. That
Shohei Ohtani and.
Yeah, so there's this gold cup. That's 19. That's the truth. That's like the base Soto. All of those legends in the makings, I have a few of those. Those are those are all worth the money. You could sell them raw. You'll have to comp them out, I'd imagine, because I don't look at modern too often. They may have dropped a little bit, particularly the Sotos may be going back up, and the Otanis may be dropping. But those you'd be surprised. Some of those are going to be between that 25, 50 and higher range, depending on what it is.
I'm not going to bring those with me just because I don't have enough knowledge on. I know, so I my understanding with the whole with modern is it's based on how hot the player is. So that's like the simple logic that I have from this. Outside of that, I'm just going to leave it alone. I told Mike, the guy who I'm working with, I said, listen, I'm not going to touch the modern stuff. The reason why that was there was because it was in a bin. It was in a box with mostly vintage. It just happened to be in there. So I was just snooping and noticed it. And, I was like, that's pretty, incredible. The stuff that he's been getting.
Does he eBay modern stuff, or is he strictly vintage, or?
I don't know off the top of my head. he has more vintage. He's when we were talking about it, he was more into vintage than modern, it seemed.
Okay.
I mean, what I took with me home is maybe like a quarter of what he has. Because I knew, I was like, all right, we need to do a test run on this. And even the test run, I mean, this has taken me days
Right.
and days of
It's a
time.
lot.
So there was something that, I found something that Mookie would like. I cannot remember. I think it's in the $10 pile, but I have to put it aside for him because it's a pinhole card. And I gotta find it if I can, but it's a crazy cool pinhole card, and I if he has it, it's hopefully he doesn't have it, but
He might be interested. He might be interested in that 83 tops traded strawberry. Or I'm assuming he's probably got it.
I don't know. Maybe he does. Mookie can join if he wants to, but
Yeah.
I don't see it happening. But crazy, yeah. There he goes. Yeah, man. I gotta find it for you. I don't. It's funny because I was in the middle of doing the inventory the last couple of days, and I noticed it. I think it was like a 63 card or something, but it's a star, like a Hall of Famer or a star.
Oof.
So, but yeah. Oh, Rick is in here. Sorry, Rick. I have no pre-war cards.
I have no problem with it. Yeah, no problem. You know what? I've got a beautiful pinhole behind me. If it didn't have a pinhole in it, it'd be a 5 or 6, and it's a 39 play ball. But that pinhole instantly made it a 1.5. But it looks so good that it doesn't bother me. I don't care.
Yeah, it has character. That's what it has.
Exactly right. And you really have to squint to find the. When I got it back from grading, I didn't see it when I purchased the card. So
yeah,
sending it in for grading, I'm like, this is gonna grade great. And it came back at 1.5, and I finally looked at it up close. I'm like, oh, sure as heck, I missed it. And you're gonna miss things. You can't catch everything. So.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find this card from. So, as far as $10 stuff goes, got a bunch of 75 Seavers. I want to show something. Yeah, like a bunch of Nolan Ryan's 1980s.
Yeah.
Some more. I have a 74 off center for $10. 78s and 77s. I have a 73 Willie Mays. Unfortunately, it's a filler. It's not, it looks better on camera, but unfortunately, it is a filler card.
Mookie would tell you he should have went in the Hall as a Met because of that card.
Nice Ozzie Smith rookie for $10. Dennis Eckersley rookie for 10. If you're a big Kirby Puckett guy.
Yeah, I've got about 4 or 5 of them myself, and I am a big Kirby Puckett guy. Too bad his cards were printed in '85.
A lot of '80s. Brian Sandberg, Cal Ripkins, Tops 82. I mean, let me see. Nolan Ryan 73. Can't go wrong with that for $10.
See, so everything you're showing right now is like right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I want to spend a ton of money, and I can just go to a show and drop 100 and pick up 10 or 12 cards.
Yeah.
That is the way to go. That's why, and there's other collectors. I don't know if you met Steve, Vintage on Vintage. If you met him,
yeah.
Him and I collect very similarly, and everything you're showing is like right up his alley and my alley. That's perfect stuff.
I wish I could bring it all with me to the National, but I mean,
it'll be gone by then if you're going to 2 shows or a good portion.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Mookie said, Mookie's gonna show up early. That's what he said. But I'm gonna try to find that pinhole card. It's got to be in here somewhere. I should have put it aside for him. I wasn't thinking of time. So Jim is asking me if I could show the 76 Ryan. Let me quickly see, because Jim emailed me asking me about that. So let me see if I can find it for him. Alrighty. Yep. This will just take a second. Okay.
You'll make sales off of just doing this.
Probably can. I generally prefer to sell in person, not so much online, but I will sell them online as well.
Right.
Okay. So I'm gonna go solo just for a second.
Yep.
Jim, here you go. This is one of them. It's off center. It's another one. Pretty nice. And the third one. So let me go back.
That's actually clean.
Yeah. So Steel City, can't wait till Hobbypalooza. I'm going to be producing for 4 hours.
What you didn't? I saw John do the schedule. Did you have a slot? I didn't see that.
No, I'm not. I'm just going to be in the background
gotcha.
For Saturday. That Saturday evening from 6 to 10, when apparently Adam Splendid Sports Cards is going to be on, and apparently they're going to be roasting John, which I'm happy I'm producing that.
Right. It would have got shut down otherwise, possibly.
I don't know, maybe. No, John has a good sense of humor. I think he'll handle it just fine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Stuke is saying Rick should wear comfortable shoes for Hobbypalooza. But he was asking sarcastically, I'm sure, should I wear comfortable shoes at the National? Because that's everybody asks that question.
Right. That's the national videos that come out in force, and it's wear comfortable shoes, bring water. I think Mangini already did a bit on it. He already did. He shot a video. Yeah. I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago. Bring water or don't bring water. Yeah. Don't wear comfortable shoes and all that good stuff.
So Jim wants. You're gonna buy the Ryan for $25. All right. No problem. I will put it aside for you. You can email me. We'll coordinate it because there's got to be shipping as well. So sounds good. Steel City, happy to jump on and chat on cam during your marathon run at Hobbypalooza. I'm not, I'm not going to be on camera, Steel. I'm just going to be in the background, just helping everybody that is doing a show navigate their thing. But I mean, if you want to jump on this right now, you're more than welcome to. So, just let me know.
I was going to be a chat master. I'm gonna be the guy on all the commenting away on all the lives.
Oh, so John is saying, I thought you were doing Sunday. Saturday morning is already Theo. No, Saturday evening. I think I was doing from 6 to 10, John. I think that was what I understood, or was it Sunday evening? I'm confusing it already.
Ringo's mixing it up.
Yeah.
I'm adding your Ringo.
Yeah, that's usually that. I guess Ringo would be the one that would screw things up.
No, it's going to be a good time. I've watched him, the last couple of years, and it's and the best part about it is you can dip in and you can dip out. It's just it's running all day long.
Well, it looks like we have somebody in the waiting room now who he's coming on because he is celebrating 1 year, and he's going to be celebrating that on the For Collectors channel this Sunday.
Awesome.
Howdy, Dan.
Dan, how are you, sir?
Did I bring you on prematurely?
Or is he muting?
Oh, I think he's getting the microphone worked out. No, I can't hear you, bud. You want me to take you off and then you come back and give me the thumbs up when you're ready? No. Up.
There. Now?
Try now. No microphone, bud. Let me take you. I'm going to take you off for a second, but stick around. All right, no problem. So Dan's got to work his microphone out. He'll come back on shortly. Dan, I know you're in the waiting room now. If you go into settings, you can check your audio. You can test it to see if the input works. And so Orlando's saying that he'll be on with Dan on Sunday. It's going to be like
I thought Orlando was doing something with Petty.
No. That's I'm sorry. Let me rephrase.
Oh, this coming Sunday.
This coming Sunday, instead of one of us hosting our live stream that night, Dan's going to be hosting.
Very cool. Very cool.
Dan lets the cards do the talking. Yes, he does. And 1 year and countless guests, Dan, and here we are. Silent live stream night.
I'll ask you the technical question since I'm an old man. Every time I do these lives with you, Sammy, I don't have the ability to see the chat, do I?
Are you using your phone or your computer?
I'm using my what do you call it? iPad.
Oh, that's probably why. Because
Yeah.
I'm using my computer. Your computer, you can see the chat. Maybe they're on the web version,
Right.
or the mobile version. Dan, is your mic good? Awesome. Bringing Dan on. Howdy.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
There
you're
we
much
go.
better now.
How are you, sir?
I am good. Jason, how are you?
Very good, my friend. Very good.
Looking forward to the house in Cleveland.
Absolutely. I was asking everybody. I think I asked you. I said, "Who smokes cigars?" Because I'm bringing a bunch of cigars. So I said, "Whoever does, I'll load them up when we get there." I think I gave who did I give one to at Strongsville? I can't even remember. But I gave a couple out at Strongsville. So
no cigars for me, but beer will be part of the
I will be bringing some of that too. So we'll be good.
I've already mapped out where the beer distributor is in relationship to the house. So I think
I will text you on the side, Dan. I'll find out what you like and bring that in specific. Part of the reason, I was up in the air on if I was driving or flying, and based on me wanting to bring a cooler and a bunch of other stuff, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to drive. So I'll take the trip.
Yeah, I'm driving too, just because I like to have access to the car, and it's
right.
I mean, it's a long ride, but it's not an awful ride.
How long is yours?
I don't know. It's anywhere between 7 and 8, depending upon how long I stop and what kind of what kind of speed I can get going. So yeah, I came on, Sam, because as you mentioned, I am celebrating my 1-year anniversary, and Theo offered to allow me to take over the 4 Collectors channel on Sunday night at 9, which is your primetime live event. So that's going to be my 1-year anniversary party. Already have 11 guests lined up,
awesome.
including
That's awesome.
Orlando. Pastor Craig is going to be there. Mike, Sports History Collector. Matt, the Card Story. I've got Mark Hoyle. I've got just a whole bunch of people. All have been guests on the show in the last year, so it's going to be an extravaganza catching up with everybody. So I'm really excited about that.
I'm going to share the 4 Collectors page here. So for anybody that is not familiar, what Dan is referring to is the 4 Collectors channel. Happen to be one of the 4, along with Theo, Clemente Collector, Caesar, Pepino Man, and John 3D80's Kid. And Dan is going to be taking Sunday for us and celebrating his 1 year, as he just mentioned. So, check out the 4 Collectors channel. I will leave the link in there just so y'all can subscribe if you want to be notified for that particular night and going forward as well.
So yeah,
But
that's what came on, just to talk about that. And I was going to show cards, but I think I'm going to save the showing of the cards for Sunday night. So sorry about that.
Yeah, you gotta. That's the buildup. Now you're gonna show it. Now it's the tease. Now people will want to see it. So
I was in Europe for a couple weeks, and so I didn't do any buying. So some of this stuff is stuff that I had bought before I left, and then a couple of new things came in. So excited to show one thing. Is a Spawn picture that I promised Matt he would be excited about, and a Greenberg autograph that I'm excited about also.
Orlando's requesting that you should talk a little bit about your channel just to promote.
Yeah. We started about a year ago, and I say we, it's me and guests. And basically the concept is I talk about a player in my personal collection, and I bring on a super collector for that particular player. So we talk about the player, we talk about the cards, we go through my collection, and then invariably the person who I bring on will have a bigger collection of cards of that particular player. I've done some teams. I did, Sam, you were on doing the Seaver show. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Orlando, we did Cuban Stars. So we talked about the history of Cuban players going all the way back to the 19th century, and we went through as particular Cuban players became, stars in the major leagues, and then ultimately into like the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s. So that was a lot of fun. And then my most recent was I had a collector who was a Phil Rizzuto, absolute super collector of Phil Rizzuto, and it was so much stuff that I had to break it up into two episodes. Each episode was like 45 minutes long. So, and it was also a woman. It was my first female guest, which I was excited about. So that was a really special time. And then before that, Mike Moynihan was on with his Lou Gehrig collection, which was also pretty awesome. So Pastor Craig was on with his Eddie Matthews. Mark Hoyle's been on for 4 different times, I think. Matt did a Hank Aaron show with his amazing Hank Aaron collection. So it's been a good opportunity to meet people, to become more familiar with a lot of the people, not only in the YouTube community, but in the card community in general, and to work on some history about the game and about the cards. And so it's been a heck of a year, and really excited to celebrate the anniversary. And thanks to 4 Collectors for letting me take over that huge 9 o'clock spot. That's your that's your big weekly live session. So going to be pretty excited to do that. So
awesome. Yeah,
that's the channel.
Yes.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's been from my personal experience of being on for the Seaver, it was a lot of fun to show the cards and kind of retrace some history about Seaver as well.
Yep.
The Rizzuto episodes were fantastic, Dan. And she grew up blocks away from him. So I mean, the personalization with the stories was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and she had some incredible stuff.
I don't know if you saw it, but she, I linked to it in the video description. She got married in, I think it was 94, and Rizzuto was invited to her wedding, went to the wedding, and then did the wedding party introductions in like a baseball style. So if you have a chance to watch that YouTube video, it's fantastic. Just Rizzuto doing like a wedding announcement, and so she, she had just amazing collection, and it was very personalized. And her dad was involved, and her husband was involved, and it was just such a wonderful experience to meet somebody who was that, who would put that much time and effort into their collection and their life. It was it was a life story for her also, which was fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, very cool. That was good stuff. I'm surprised you did Seaver, Sammy. That stuns me. I didn't see that. I'll have to go back and look at the Seaver now. I didn't know you liked Tom Seaver.
Oh yeah. Yeah, go figure that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be looking for his 68 bazooka at the National.
I'm still looking for that 67 alternative rookie that you have, the postcard.
Oh yeah.
I have not.
There was one that was available right or at the same time that I bought mine, but it was like it had a wrinkle in it, but it was selling for like 500, but it came with all the other cards from that set.
Oh, okay.
But it was like
it's one of the major. I have a long list of things for the National, so that's one of the ones. Yeah,
they're out there. I mean, it's I don't know if this holds true, but I figured that when you go to a National that's in like Cleveland or Chicago, or if you're like a big Ernie Banks collector, for example, and you're in Chicago, you're gonna be the chances of finding something that's or that's obscure in Chicago of Ernie Banks is going to be more likely. Whereas in Cleveland, like, if it's Bob Feller or something like that, I mean, chances go up. And I imagine in Atlantic City, then I would think, what do you think? Is it more Philadelphia stuff, or is it more New York stuff, or a clash?
I think it was both. I think it was both when we were there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Yankee stuff, and there was a lot of Philly stuff. And, the Philly show, which obviously you've been to and I've been to.
Yeah.
You always see your Schmidt and Pete Rose and all that. But Cleveland, you're right. Cleveland, when I got 2 things of the Al Rosen is I should also mention I did an Al Rosen show very early in the time of my show, and Scott came on, Reindeer Studios, and his Rosen collection was not only just the cards and everything, but his artwork, and he had been working on like a wood piece for Rosen at the time, which was so awesome. But in Cleveland, I was able to get a couple of really rare, nice things in our Rosenland. So that was that was kind of what you had suggested, that because of the geographic location helps you pick particular players. And I know there was some Dobie stuff that people got in Cleveland that wasn't really generally available.
It's just what makes it very interesting, because it kind of helps put a little bit of history in terms of how certain cards get to where they are.
Yep.
And you wouldn't find those things perhaps on the East Coast in New York or Boston or somewhere else. I mean, because the East Coast tends to kind of gravitate to have a lot of the shows there. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever looked at that Google Maps website that shows all the card shows that are happening.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing to look at, because you just see just a huge bunch of Google pins, those little pins, all on the East Coast, all on the West Coast, and then sparse a little bit in the Midwest.
Can I just I have to get going. I got to go back to what I was doing. But I do want to mention, I just saw John mention this. Hobbypalooza obviously is coming up next weekend, and Mark Hoyle and I are going on with John 3D80's kid. There it is, right there. 6 o'clock on Saturday. We're doing a show with we've each selected 5, not normal, but not really oddball, but not the standard pre-war stuff. So we're each going to go through 5, and then show different things from each other's collections. So that's going to be a lot of fun. With if you know Mark Hoyle, he's just, his collection is insane. So Sam, thanks for letting me come on and just a little promo for Saturday. I'm sorry, Sunday, and then following Saturday. And Jason, of course, great to see you, and looking forward to seeing you in the house in Cleveland.
Absolutely.
Take care.
All right, we'll see you, Dan. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be it's a frat house of vintage collectors is what that house is going to be. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm pretty excited for it.
So who's in the house with you? Is it
So I couldn't even rattle off everybody. I think it's up to, and every time I do this, Legends of the Dugout, Dave always tells me, "Hey, you forgot so and so." There's going to be 11 or 12 of us.
Okay.
I know John is going to be there. I think Adam, Vintage Sanctuary, Matt, the Card Story, Dave, obviously. I think Ray from Philly's in the house. Dan is in the house. Alex Bowman 53 is in the house. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice.
I was actually, I think Dave kind of helped out Mike Moynihan with reviving the meet and greet. And I was going to say, shoot, just have it at this house. Half of the people are already.
Oh God. You guys would not get your deposit back.
Right, exactly.
Actually, you know what? I would think, honestly, I mean, with the amount of people, I feel like vintage collectors don't make a huge mess. I think where you would be cordial.
No, you're part of the young group, Sammy. So like the older guys are all respectful, and we're just like old, and the rowdy groups are all the rowdy kids are all the new the modern collectors. So
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we would be very cautious about not spilling anything on any cards.
Right. Exactly right.
We would, it would be very unfortunate to have anything go wrong. But nevertheless, yes. So Dave did come through, which was awesome. I don't know if Dave is in the chat, but he came through in the clutch and helping out with Mike and Chris, be able to land that spot. So kudos to them.
And I tell you what, Sammy, just by what I'm seeing on all the channels I'm watching, and this thing is going to be twice as big as it was last year. It's going to be huge. There's going to be a lot of people there. So
I'm going to do my thing again where I have my custom card on the front and a random card on the back. So when I give these out, it's going to be like a like a quick draw. I'm gonna have a whole bunch of them, and you end up getting a free card out of it.
I remember that from last year.
Did you get one?
I don't think I drew for one.
Okay.
That was my shy, I don't know anybody, this is the first time I'm meeting everybody moment. But it was like, I think it was you, Theo, and Al were at the table.
Okay.
I was kind of hanging out at that table for most of the night. And then John, who hasn't done a ton of videos lately, chasing majors, I was hanging out with him a little bit too.
Okay. I just found another card that's part of the.
Yeah,
I always love this card.
You don't have it? Do you have you have the bench rookie, don't you?
I did, but I sold it to who did I sell it to? I think I sold it to Mookie's buddy Pete. Pete buys a bunch of cards off of me. He's bought a Monty Irvin rookie. He bought a Johnny Bench rookie off of me. I think that's it.
Okay.
Mook will fill me in on things that I forget, but
I've got that card in the typical everyday card collector grade. Mine's a 3.5, and I love it.
That's respectable. Perfectly respectable.
I'm good with it all day long.
Here's a really nice looking maze.
Yeah.
I mean, it's listen, it's loved, but it's the centering on it to me
it's phenomenal. It's perfect.
I love the blue. That blue is so nice.
Oh, the banks in that card is phenomenal because it's almost cubby blue background.
Let me see what else I got. I got some good deals on some Koufax for $30. It's loved, but man, for $30.
That's his last year too, right? 66, I think.
Yeah. Let's see what else. Yeah, Stuke is saying it. Hey, Ray.
Ray.
Ray just arrived. Stuke is saying it was a great subset. Yes, it is. National League Blue is the best. Mookie wants us to start over for Greg. Okay. All right. I can do that. Hold on a second. Good evening, everybody. Sammy Thunder here. Welcome back to the channel. Starting this live stream, I'm doing a little bit of a reset for Greg Midlife Sports Cards. So I would love for Greg to join us. I know he missed all the way, halfway through. I think he was here in the chat, but
I think it should be a requirement that he joins based on the fact that
based on that
he was running late.
Hold on, I'll send him the link.
He needs to jump on.
Hold on, I'll send him the link right now. All right, Greg, it's sent to you. It's a requirement now. I mean,
it's funny. You were showing the cards, and I was telling you how the 50 Bowman Ted Williams is a must grade card. I was gonna harken back to one of Greg's old videos where he found one in like in a value box for like $80 or $100. He found that.
Yeah.
So it's funny how you can remember all these stuff just from watching a bazillion videos.
It's crazy. Petty was saying Greg is way too big of a name to join. Mr. 5,000, Mr. 5K.
Mr. 5, yeah, exactly.
Mr. 5K is too big. Oh, but apparently I have to start over for Petty. All right, hang on. Reset. Good evening, you beautiful people. You handsome people. What does he say? Like,
handsome fellas.
Handsome fellas. Hey, handsome fellas. Hope you guys are having a good night. Just so you know, I buy everything off center. No.
Back centering is the wave of the future, and buy what you don't like. That's the most important thing. Buy what you don't like. And if it's got ice cream on it, then it's worth that much more money.
Oh man, of course, there he is.
There he is.
He's got that "come at me, bro" pose going on. What's up, Greg?
How's it going, guys?
Good.
How are you, sir?
I'm not too big for anyone ever. Trust me. Trust me. My ego is so much smaller than you could ever imagine.
So now you'll be pumping content out at a rapid rate because it's summertime for you. Is that accurate?
I mean, I have been the last week or so. I've been doing 4 or 5, but I'm in. We're going to Lake Tahoe this weekend. My daughter has a soccer tournament. So I'm finishing up my Monday video today to post on Monday. I've got something. Yeah, I've got. I mean, probably 4. Probably 4. Yeah.
That's a lot of work. You put I'm just a guy who turns a camera on. You put it all together.
It's a lot of work, but I don't know. It's fun. It's I don't know. It's fun. I like it. I like doing the editing. It's actually one of the parts I like the most is some of the editing, brainstorming.
Oh, that's awesome.
Greg just does one take, go, and that's it.
That's actually true. It is true, believe it or not. I did make a mistake on my video for Monday, and I was like, normally I wouldn't really care, but it was a quote from Mookie. Mookie had picked it. My question was, what are 3 multiplayer cards that everybody should own?
Multiplayer cards, okay.
Yeah, and so I went through about 15 responses showing the cards and stuff, and the one I messed up on was Mookie, and I was like, I got to go back and fix it. YouTube has asked. I was like, I got to go back and fix it because if I don't, Mookie's just gonna beat this over my head forever. So I did. I actually edited that. So yeah.
Oh man, you're gonna enjoy. From my personal experience of hanging out with Mookie and Pete, you haven't met either one. You've seen Mookie in over Zoom or whatever,
yeah,
or FaceTime.
FaceTime,
But you haven't seen Mookie and Pete together. It's just Pete getting Pete getting harassed 24/7.
There's a lot of history there, I think, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's tough, yeah. But it's seeing it for the first time, like the first time meeting Mookie and Pete. I think it wasn't the first time meeting them because they've come to shows and whatnot. But hanging out with them for the first time, I walk right into the house and it's already Pete. Come on, hurry up, let's go. Come on, hurry up. And then Pete driving 90 miles per hour down the New Jersey Turnpike to get to Philly, which I can greatly appreciate that, the speed and everything. And then once we get there, Mookie just is like a kid out of school, just wants to run right into the card show. And I'm like, just pace yourself, my friend. We were trying to find parking, and it was like no parking spaces anywhere. So Mookie was just like, you could see he was like a dog in a window looking out, just anxiously waiting to get out to leave the car, and we had to just like hold him back.
The fun thing about that is if you don't know the dynamic and it's the first time you're running into it, you might see that and go, man, he's on this guy. He's really on him. And then you pick up after about 5 minutes and go, okay, I see this.
Well, I just really the one thing I remember particularly, because at first I couldn't tell if he was joking or not, but that's just the lure of Mookie. Mookie tells Pete, he's like, hey, listen, maybe you get to drop us both off and just continue looking for parking on your own. And I'm like, oh, that is so messed up.
Well, I've spoken with Pete. I've been on speakerphone with the two of them a few times, and Pete definitely seems like a cool guy. So I look forward to meeting him.
He's they're good people, man. Like this, just couldn't go to a card show with anybody else, and good comrades to go to a card show with.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
You guys are lucky that out there you have so many big card shows that are within 5 hours or something. Like out here we have nothing. Like the Burbank show is the closest, which is an hour flight, and it's mostly modern. So the old, the heavy congestion of population works in your favor. The oldness of the East Coast works in your favor.
Yeah.
Like it's just there aren't old buildings out here and stuff. So there aren't basements to store stuff. Everything gets tossed because there's nowhere to put it. So all the stuff that comes in, like instead of just putting it in the basement and then there's a find, that doesn't happen out here. So it's much different.
It's funny you mentioned that because this is unrelated, but it kind of ties into something that's interesting. So when I had the interview with Pat Quinn, the Venezuelan guy, Venezuelan cards, the guy who brought him back, he told me an interesting story, and I think this connects to Venezuelans being in the condition that they're in when you find them. He told me that in Venezuela they don't have basements there in the homes, so they'd like store them. They would put cards or whatever for any storage. They had to put them underneath the house, and so a lot of times, in Venezuela when it rains or anything, any sort of any sort of weather condition will cause the cards to become horribly conditioned over time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of interesting to tie that together. When he brought him back, he noticed that the condition of those cards were obviously not the greatest, and I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about storage. It's like you never see those guys from like the Pickers show come out here because there's just we have attics, but attics out where you guys are, sometimes you can make it into like a room, like you can put carpet in, and you
becomes a bedroom.
Yeah, it becomes a bedroom in the basements, and a lot of the houses in California are even on concrete slabs, so we don't even have crawl spaces like they have in Venezuela. Like there are some crawl space houses out here, but 2/3 of them are on slabs, and so there's no attic, there's no basement, there's no crawl space under the house, and so you have a garage, and most people have a 2-car garage, and so that doesn't work. So there's just not old stuff out here. It just gets tossed.
Yeah, my number one rule of thumb being in the Midwest is because you get a lot of rain, and there are houses in our areas that have flooded. I have flooded, not in the house that I'm currently in, but in my last house. And my number one rule is don't keep your cards in the basement. And where are all my cards right now? In the basement while my card room is getting done up and built. Hopefully I'll be done in a week or two, and then I'll be upstairs officially. So yeah, it's interesting, the geographical. So do you think, Greg, that there are less vintage collectors on the West Coast based on that? Or is
no, I don't think there are less vintage collectors. I think there are a lot of vintage collectors, and I actually think, back in the day, like if you go back into like the early 90s, late 80s, early to mid 90s, a lot of the biggest shows were in the West Coast. It was down in Anaheim, and it was up in San Francisco. Used to have a couple of really, really big shows that you'd get all the national dealers at. And I think that what that did is it kind of created a culture in those areas of vintage collectors because they had access to it. But then what happened is as baseball cards really blew up, I think a lot of those guys got tired of coming out to the West Coast. So the big shows ended up being other places, and like the National has been in LA, and the National has been in San Francisco. I went to the National when it was in San Francisco 30 years ago, but it's not anymore because it's just kind of out of the circle because it was a pain for so many of the bigger vintage dealers, and most of those guys are East Coast or Midwest.
Sure.
Bringing in a fellow Californian. Hey, Rick.
Oh.
Hey, Rick. How's it going?
Hey, I've been to, it was TriStar Cow Palace.
That was a big
2000s,
one. Yeah.
TriStar would have a big show there. It was called the Cow Palace.
Yeah, well, I went to that show for years. Did you go to the Moscone Center show?
No, didn't go to that one.
But that was before the Cow Palace, and then there was the Fashion Center. Was Labor Day weekend every year, was at the Fashion Center in the Fashion District of San Francisco. That's where they had the National years and years ago. It was 2 buildings in the Fashion Center district. But the Cow Palace was a big show too.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I remember Mr. Mint right there at the front doors, probably around 2002, 2003. And I remember later that night, Metallica was going to play at the Cow Palace. So they were warming up somewhere there, and you can hear them. And so people were going, hey, maybe we can catch and, take a peek at what they're doing. So it's kind of funny.
Well, the Cow Palace, they had a show there not that long ago, but the problem is for promoters, because I'm friends with one of the big promoters in Northern California, and he said you have to hire all their union employees for parking, for food, for everything, and it's like not affordable. And then the Cow Palace is such an old building; it's got like a leaky roof. Like there would be card shows in there, and it'd be like leaking, and they'd have garbage cans under it. But I saw a WWF match, like Sergeant Slaughter. I saw wrestle there in like 1988. So I've spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, I remember the Golden State Warriors, their first championship was played at the Cow Palace because the Oakland Coliseum, they weren't expected to do anything, and they had like a rodeo or something already booked for the Oakland Coliseum, so they actually played at the Cow Palace 74-75 championship. It was kind of crazy. It only holds what, 6,000-7,000 or something like that. So it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Back then, basketball was literally on tape delay, like at 11:30 at night, the championship games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was like that up
Literally.
until the 80s, right? I think the Lakers, the first Lakers Boston with in '80 with Magic and Larry was on tape delay.
Yeah, it's crazy. Basketball just wasn't, just like cards, right? Basketball cards weren't very popular. Same with the.
You guys ever seen this before?
I've seen Basketball Digest, just not that one.
I got this is from this is like a limited edition one or a special issue that they gave for Magic Johnson. This was, I guess, the year, this was the rookie year, and then this was the year after.
So 80 and 81 then? The bird would be 80, yeah. Okay.
Did you have your doctor's appointment, Rick? I saw your video the other day.
Yep, I had two. Don't get old, man.
Oh no.
Blood test. Man, I tell you, don't get old. That's all I say.
I've had more.
Fine. I think everything's fine, but
that's good.
More tests and
yeah.
Yeah. When you get old, you got to go to the bathroom like 12 different times and this, that, and everything else. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had every test you can think of in any vicinity down there. I've had a lot of health issues myself, so I hear you.
Oh my God! I tell you. But anyway.
Yeah.
This is a good distraction, cards and so forth. So.
Yeah.
Now you're doing work on your room, Rick, because I noticed as everyone's making fun of the china behind you.
Yeah. I'm always doing something, So I had cards. I still have cards also. I'm not very organized.
Who is?
Like I'll show cards on some kind of live stream. It'll sit there for a couple weeks. I'm too lazy to,
I have found since I started doing these videos, Rick, that's exactly what's going on with me. They don't get put back where they were when it was organized, and a lot of times I'll take them. I have them in not the rigids. I have them in the what do you call them? The harder plastic ones. The
top loader.
Top loaders, thank you. And so now they're all in semi-rigids, and I want to put them back in the top loaders. And now the top loader's scratched, so I want to buy new top loaders. And so they just sit until I can buy more materials and more supplies in order to reorganize them. The card room that's going to get built will do that all, and then 2 months after that, they'll be all over that room.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the room's small, so.
I hear you.
Well, to celebrate California basketball, I figured I'd show this card.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
The Chief.
That's his rookie card, right?
Yeah, that is a rookie.
Another good trade by the Warriors.
It was, and the draft pick got McHale, right? It was Robert Parrish and a draft pick, which turned out to be Kevin McHale.
Right.
And
I think we got Joe Barry Carroll, which was.
Oh man.
Oh my God! Talking about a lazy.
Well, he was wasn't Joe Barry Carroll heavily into the '80s and what was going on in the '80s? Like, I know prior to Michael Jordan hitting the Bulls, those guys were having a lot of fun with a lot of extracurricular stuff beyond playing basketball. And I thought Joe Barry Carroll was a part of that, like the Len Bias effect kind of deal.
I remember Joe Barry Carroll because he didn't want to. Practice with. God, I can't remember the coach, but the coach at the time was ready to strangle him in the locker room, literally, for not playing hard.
Right.
Here's let me say rest in peace to these two gents.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
you guys are out west. Was Jerry West sick? I know he's older.
I think he had some dementia stuff going on, but they knew he was getting up there. I actually have a crazy Jerry West story. I bought a National Treasure autograph of Jerry West 3 years ago, and about 6 months ago, I'm like, I think I'm just going to sell it. I bought it super cheap. It was like $40. And I was like, I'm just going to put it online for like $100. If someone buys it, great. If they don't, fine. And I had sent out some offers from some watchers for like $80. Nobody ever responded. Like, nobody was interested in that card at all. I woke up the other morning and I saw I had $85. I had an $85 offer for it. And I was just like, why is someone suddenly offering me $85 for this? And I opened the listing. It said, "Do you have 18 views in the last 24 hours?" I was like, "Oh crap, he died."
Yep.
And so I went and I looked, and he had just posted 5 minutes earlier that he died. And as I was looking at that, it sold for $100. And I'm just like, it's so crazy how that happens. Like, it's like there are still a lot of his autographs out there, but
it's a morbid thought, but that's the modern way of collecting, right? It's whatever the news is, that's gonna spike that card. I mean, I dread the day, but the reality is Willie Mays is getting.
Oh yeah, I was just literally just thinking that.
And so
God, that's gonna be
it's just gonna be a madhouse. It's gonna be insane.
YouTube, the vintage community is just gonna like launch into a tirade on that.
Right.
It's gonna happen.
Hopefully he lives another 10 years.
What is he, 94 now? 93, 94?
But Jim Brown, when he died, there was like a mini spike for like 2 or 3 days, but then it just went back to normal. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that big of a. I think people it's built in at this point. It's like Ichiro, when he goes into the Hall of Fame, his prices aren't going to change. But when Fred McGriff did, it did, because people weren't expecting it. Manny Minoso, he goes in, they spike. It's not going to spike when Albert Pujols gets in, because we know he's going to get in.
Right.
So I think when somebody's this old, I feel like a lot of that is already baked into the value and the price. And I don't think there's going to be a crazy jump. At least not going to last longer than a week.
I almost feel like it's sports related too, right? I mean, you're constantly saying, Greg, how underrated vintage football is, and basketball follows in the same line. I think it's actually more affordable than even the football. Most of the basketball is, except for the flare set and whatnot. But it's Willie Mays. So when we're talking vintage baseball collectors, he's on Mount Rushmore, right? I mean, he's the guy. I mean, you could be right. It might last a month instead of a week because it's Willie Mays, but it'll settle back down. But I don't know if it's baked in with him, because his stuff is still pretty affordable. I mean, when I say affordable, it's costly, but it's not it's not Mantle. He's up there with Aaron. Clemente's climbing. I see a lot of the Clemente stuff is more expensive than some of the Mays stuff. So,
what do you think, Rick? What do you think's going to happen with Mays?
Well, I've been saying for the last 5 years to buy his autos, plain day auto baseball cards, because I thought they were undervalued for sure 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, they'll have an initial spike. Like you said, he's kind of an iconic player, initially, but on a long term, I think they're kind of baked in now. But I think they're still undervalued, his compared to Mantle. It's crazy, because even though Mays is still alive, there's more Mantle autos out there than I think Mays autos.
Right.
Yeah.
So plain day on plain day cards. So you used to be able to buy, just a few $100, a plain day auto card of like a 67 or 69. Now, they're probably $1,000 or something like that.
Well, the hobby shifted on that too, right? I mean, we're all a little bit older, and it was a no-no to have a card signed, particularly a rookie card.
Me, so, I made a video, or I said something on video. I don't remember people. I never ever wanted to have someone sign.
I'm still
I'd bring a hat, a glove,
right,
even a piece of paper, a program to sign, but I would never bring a card. I'd never bring a card to a game or even to a show. It just wasn't. It was just, I don't know.
That's what I have for Willie Mays.
So there you go.
Forgive the condition of it. Unfortunately, it took some damage, but it's a cool opportunity. My dad bought this in the 90s.
I don't remember that photo. I don't remember seeing that photo.
I think he signed a bunch of these, because when I searched for this online and I saw that there was another one that he signed, the same exact photo. It's the only thing I wish he didn't sign over the New York Giants cap, but that's okay.
Jason, we were talking a minute ago about regional stuff and where cards are and stuff. one of the things that's interesting for me too is, and I'm sure Rick could attest to this too, is in Northern California, Willie Mays stuff at shows has a massive premium, like a massive premium. Sure. And just like why Sammy, whenever he goes to Strongsville, he's picking up Tom Seaver stuff for the same reason, is it's cheaper in Cleveland and he can charge the premium when he's in New York. So when I go to shows and stuff and I hear you say, yeah, I think Willie Mays is undervalued, I'm like, now that the show's out here, he's properly valued. Right. But I think that's just a regional thing, which is super interesting that it works like that,
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I see it, and it falls for me being in the Chicago area. If I want Minoso, if I want Banks, if I want Aparicio or Nelly Fox, I don't typically buy it here. Like Strongsville would be a perfect place to get that. I was getting two of my cards that I picked up in Strongsville were cards I would have never looked at in Chicago. It was an Ed Walsh T206 and the 34 Gaudy Luke Appling rookie card. And there's just no way in Chicago that comes at a premium. And I got my Appling based on it, I think partly being in Ohio rather than being in Chicago. I got it at an affordable price and a much better grade than I thought I was going to buy it in. So It worked out well for me. And I bought the T206 ungraded, but got a great deal on that too. So you're just not going to see that in Chicago. It comes at a premium. So because of who they played for. So it's interesting.
Are there players that, we're talking about how, I was kind of taken back by Mays not being universally, I'm going to say this carefully, like regional shows. To me, Mays always carries a premium no matter where you go, because Mays is who he is, and he's on the same level as someone like Mantle. Mantle always carries a premium wherever you go. So it's kind of surprising for me to hear that, Jason, that you're in Chicago, Mays doesn't carry as big of a premium.
I feel that Mantle is the anomaly for all of this conversation because he's the unicorn in the hobby. But what I see, it's not that he doesn't carry a premium. It's not that he's not expensive. He's Willie Mays. Of course he is. Like Greg said, it is baked into the price. But if you look around at some of the shows that I go to, and some of the bigger shows where they have the national, they have a couple shows a year that I go to, some of the bigger shows, and you'll see some of the early Clemente stuff going for as much, if not more. And don't get me wrong, Clemente was incredible. Right. But I look at Mays and just think to myself, he is possibly, arguably, the greatest player ever to play. And, if I can afford it on my budget, I always go, I think the longevity of how long he played for, maybe that's because he had so many cards. Mays had a ton of cards, and Rick can speak to this better. But there's in the middle 60s, he was in every product possible. So he was everywhere. So maybe that has something to do with it as well. Just the amount of Mays that's out there in comparison to Clemente. I don't know.
I feel that way with Ted Williams. If you look at Ted Williams' 39 play ball, it's not a cheap card. It's not cheap, obviously. The 41, it's not a cheap card. But relative to other players of the era, I don't get it. I just don't get why he's not more expensive. I think he has so much going for him, but I guess that just means he's, better for people who want his stuff.
I agree 100% because I'm actually looking at some Ted Williams for the National, and it's stunning. Again, my budget isn't huge, so when I'm looking at these players, I'm trying to fit something within the budget, and the fact that I'm looking at Ted Williams and there's 2 or 3 cards that are affordable for me, I find it amazing. And to your point, if you look at in comparison to DiMaggio, Mays is still coming in cheaper on the 39 play ball. I think it's kind of relative on the 41, or maybe DiMaggio's still a little bit higher.
That's an expensive DiMaggio because of the year it was. Yeah.
So
it was a big year for both of them.
Right.
Let's see what Dom is saying. Baseball, to a fault, has always been the most regional of the major sports, but I feel like the markup is more so for the active and mid-tier fan favorites as opposed to the inner circle legends.
Yeah, I think mid-tier guys especially. What do you call a mid-tier guy? But, like you just mentioned Nelly Fox. Like, Nelly Fox stuff out here would be cheap. Yep. Willie McCovey's stuff out here is pretty expensive.
Correct. I think I picked up my second year McCovey, 61, here in a 4 for like 30 or $35.
His stuff is so cheap, it's insane.
Yeah.
A couple things I observed, because I'm older than you guys. When I, in the 70s and stuff, I think DiMaggio was more popular than Mays for old people, like my grandfather, people like that. The homegrown guy. San Francisco Bay Area, if you're from here, you play here, you're basically a god. You know, if you start with one team, like McCovey, at one point, I think was more popular. I enjoyed him more, or I was more of a fan of McCovey than Mays, for whatever reason, because he was homegrown San Francisco, minor leagues all the way up. He didn't come from New York. So when I was a kid, I mean, McCovey would get the ovation. I remember both of them playing at the same time. I went to Council Park. He would get the same big ovation as Mays would. McCovey was just loved here.
Yeah, I think a lot of regions are like that. Like, I mean, growing up in Northern California, like Lefty O'Doul has a lot of love. And when you look at his cards from like the 33 Gaudy set, you know, he's got one of the images on one of his cards is a beautiful card. And it's so affordable for what he is. The fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame is insanity, both as a pitcher, as a hitter, but also as an ambassador. And what he did to help grow the sport in, you know, Japan is just like, he should be in on 3 different counts, let alone 1. Sure. So, you know, but yeah, Lefty O'Doul has a huge following in the
They have a bridge named after him at the ballpark there.
Yeah.
Lefty O'Doul Bridge.
Yeah.
So is Bill Cartwright a big guy then? Like he's big on the West Coast? Didn't he play for San Francisco?
So no, so Bill Cartwright actually he played high school basketball at Elk Grove High School, which is I teach in the Elk Grove district, and so he grew up in Elk Grove. The thing that's interesting about him is he stayed local for college. So he went to USF. Right. And when he went to USF, the way they recruited him is they told him the high school coach could come with him. So when he went to USF, one of the assistant coaches became his high school coach, and he's not as popular as you'd think. If you look at like his stats, like he still has some records in like Northern California high school record books, but he's more claimed by Chicago probably than he is by Northern California.
Yeah, and he started with New York. I mean, he was part of the Charles Oakley trade. So
I have an all-time story. So this is Chicago, I think 2019. He was one of those guys that signed for free on the first night. You get a free autograph from him. So I bring a card up to him, his card, and he looks at it and he goes, "This is not me. It was Winford Boynes, his teammate." And so the guy next to him, his handler, was laughing. He was laughing. I was laughing. I just took it for granted it was him, but it was actually his teammate Winford Boynes. So he signed it anyway. He was laughing.
He's a good guy. He's around the area from time to time, and one of his old high school coaches I'm buddies with. So, but he's a good guy.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he coached for the Bulls shortly. You know, after the dynasty. Jerry Reinsdorf is loyal to a fault, particularly with the White Sox and with the Bulls. So he coached for a while. Paxson was a coach, and then Paxson was part of the front office. But yeah, always been known as a good guy. If you've seen The Last Dance, when oh yeah, go ahead, Rick.
What do you got? I see something good there.
Lefty O'Doul.
Oh yeah.
This is called 1929 Leader Novelty. These are really, really scarce cards, and they were put like in a package with toys, this, that, and everything else for young people. So
that's fantastic.
That's a beautiful card. That's a beautiful one. I mean, the eye appeal on that one is fantastic.
It's a one, but I would probably say there's probably only a few of these that exist, you know, that you see out there.
Why do you think he's not in the Hall of Fame, Rick?
Well, I don't think they go by, if it was basketball, he'd be in the Hall of Fame because they would go by, he's an ambassador, all about, but they just go by his major league stats, basically. So
If
He
you look
doesn't
at
play.
his
He didn't play
career,
long enough in the major leagues. A lot of his career was at the with the Seals and being an ambassador to baseball. He should be in for being an ambassador for sure.
his career batting average is like
Yeah,
it's like
insane.
350.
But I think
And
it's only like what 4 or 5 years,
yeah,
right? Basically.
yeah,
And,
yeah, because he reinvented himself. He was Rick Ankiel before Rick Ankiel, and better.
Right.
Yeah.
he basically named it the
349.
Giants, the Tokyo Giants.
Yeah.
That's where they got it from him. And he would go on all those tours, when Babe Ruth would go to Japan. He was organizing. He was part person organizing all these things. And even after he retired,
So there is a player of that era that I just have learned about yesterday. We had a family event, and I had a niece graduate high school, so the family was there, and I show up, and all my cousins, husbands, and my brother all making fun of me. Hey, there's the YouTube guy, and yada yada yada, and giving me a hard time, but they watch. And my cousin's husband said, "Hey, I had a family member who played in Major League Baseball," and I said, "Well, who was it?" He's like, "I sure would like to get a card." I said, "Well, who was it and when?" He said, "I think it was the 30s or 40s, Bill Knickerbocker." So I started looking him up. I'm like, shoot, he played with like DiMaggio. And I said, this is, and I started showing him cards. So now at the National, I'll be on the hunt for a 40 play ball of Bill Knickerbocker, which I thought was fantastic. He played for the Sox for 1 year, and I didn't know who he was. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. So I got a kick out of getting ribbed and made fun of. And now there's someone else for me to hunt for. So should be fun.
It's awesome.
The video you did recently, Rick, or the other day, you had that Tacoma, Washington Juan Marichal card from the National Bank of Washington. That is a card that, even though I don't collect Juan Marichal stuff, that is like, I love the novelty aspect of it being from the National Bank. And I know they had a set of all the minor league players from that time, but that card, it's so cool looking, and I know they're tough to find.
Very tough. I've only seen 2, that one and another one. And I told this, John Mangini. I said, hey, and then we both him and Ha, because the guy wanted a lot of money for it because he didn't have to sell it. He's the only one around. And on Sunday, his Beamer, he's on his way home. And on Sunday, I went back to the guy and we had a conversation, hey, I'm from the Bay Area and this, that, and everything else. And then he gave me a break on the price. So I ended up picking it up. And then the next National, some guy had all the other players like Matty Alou, Dusty Rhodes. So I got it's like $25 for all 5 or 6 of them, so I picked them up. But he went to the major leagues literally later in that year.
Yeah.
He went on to the major leagues, and Gaylord Perry, I think, played on that team a little bit, but he didn't have a card.
That's right, because Perry was just a year after. So it's such a
beautiful card. You don't see it. It's not very often, and
kind of has like an evergreen color to it a little bit, I think, if I remember. I'm trying to get a mental picture in my head of what that card looks like.
Yeah, so that's one card. Somebody also asked me, hey, is that one of the cards you're selling? And that's one card I'm not,
I wouldn't blame you. I'm going to
bring it probably to the National just to put it in John's face. Here it is. This is why you left.
So I'm not going to ask what the big boy card is that you said that you're working on, but is it a card you've seen in person and you're negotiating with the dealer, or is the negotiation done and you just got to finalize it?
Yeah, just finalize it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Man.
I need to keep. A matter of fact, is it all right if I show you some? I'm going to show you. Is it okay if I have time? I got about 6 or 7 photos I'm selling. I'm going to do a video.
The floor is yours. The floor is yours.
So I don't know. Hopefully I can.
Let me go solo.
Wow.
This is his 53 card. This is a Type 2.
Wow.
Developed Type 2 because it was developed 1970s, 53 Topps image. The photographer Stein, that was a Dodger photographer. I'm not sure what I'm going to charge for this, but this one's
I
if
mean,
you had a Type 1, you're probably talking 15,000 maybe
Wow.
for a Type 1. Of course, the Type 1 being within 2 years of when it was developed or taken, the photo was taken. So that's one. This is a Ruth Type 1, 1928. He's with two, God, what is it? He's with two Browns players, young Browns players.
Oh, wow.
It's a Type 1.
That's beautiful.
Two young players. Let's see. So if I don't sell them, I'll probably bring them to the National for Leland's auction and have them, sell them. This is a Type 1 of Satchel.
Wow.
This is really cool.
Wow.
Love the, with the kids showing them the ball and stuff. Really cool. This is a Type 2, but it's 1950. So just this is Bob Feller.
Man, you're just bringing all the stuff that Scott would want.
Really cool image.
That's a beautiful image.
Scott will trade you 9,000 T-shirts for that.
Oh, this is really cool. Now, this one, 1925 Type 1, Walter Johnson at the plate.
Wow, that's you're getting a
look
lot.
Look at the stands. Look at how empty the stands are.
Yeah, so I'd imagine this. Yeah, I see a guy. What do you call it? The guy who had the white shirt. So it might have been. I was thinking, oh, maybe this is before the game, but this must have been during the game. He's selling, So you can see I need to accumulate some funds. This one's not going to be very expensive, but it's really cool. 1950s Type 1 of Casey Stengel and Joe DiMaggio.
That's cool. That is cool.
Really inexpensive.
I feel like that would be good for James, Elite Hunters. He loves the Yankees.
Now here's a Type 2 1960s, but you got 3 Hall of Famers: Waite Hoyt, Miller Huggins, the manager, and Ruth.
Look at how small Miller Huggins is. That puts it into perspective.
And Ruth wasn't that big of a.
Developed in the 1950s from the original negative.
He's the first person inducted into Monument Park.
Yeah. I got these all graded myself or slabbed up or whatever you want to say. So this one here is really cool. This is a 1940s. It's a Type 3 from the a duplicate negative, but it's sweet looking image. Very popular image. Satchel Paige.
Oh wow,
that's awesome.
From the same time period, but a duplicate.
Look at that leg kick. That leg kick is something.
But that's an iconic kind of photo. I've seen this one pretty often with Type 1, whatever. This is in different places I've seen it.
So how do you know, Rick, duplicate negative? Is it just the research you've done over time to determine that came from the duplicate negative?
Well, I mean, I got this. I knew this was but I sent it in to PSA, I knew it was a Type 3. So basically what they charge, I mean, you can't just, I mean, they charge you. So it's $80 for them to look at it and determine what it is. And for $80, you'll get a piece of paper, say it's a Type 1, 2, and Henry Yee is a person that does that. It's out of New Jersey, his office. If you want it slabbed up, it's $30 extra. So now you're into about $110 for it.
Wow.
So you'll see some of them, but people think, hey, this is a Type 1. No, it's a 1980s Lou Gehrig Type 2 from the original negative, but it's 1980s, so it's not worth $110. But you don't know that until he looks at it and determines it.
Is he looking at the paper to know how old and when it was developed, basically?
Yeah, so you got the paper. Let's see if I have like this one here. This is a Type 1 of the Walter Johnson.
Okay.
So he's looking at the paper. He's looking at the stamping on the back, the notations. And then just by looking at it too, and the paper, mostly the paper. So somebody said, "Hey, I got a person that I don't want to mention his name, but he asked me, hey, is this a type 1?" And I don't know. I mean, I'm not no expert, but I'm telling him, hey, if it has the borders like this, and it's like say a 1906 photo, it's not a type 1 because type 1 would not have the borders on it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's ways to, And this Henry Yee is the one that did the book. There's a famous book out there, and I mean it's kind of funny because he sells too, but he's the authenticator for PSA with these folks.
Okay.
It's gonna be a nice gig.
Now, are you looking?
Anyway.
Are you looking to lock down this deal at the National? Is the card you're looking for?
Yeah.
Be there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see if it works out.
All right. So
I need to I can't keep buying. I gotta be.
everyone's gonna.
It's like everyone else.
Hitting you
I
up.
can't. I'm keeping a lot of. I have a lot of photos, so there's a lot of them I'm keeping. But and all the cards I'm selling too. So there's
still have
Alexis
that,
telling me.
Do you still have that T206 Mathewson that you showed last time?
Yeah, that's going to be another one. So I'm gonna do probably 2 or 3 videos in the next couple of weeks, and everything's going to be under, comps or something like that.
Which Mathewson is it? Is it the
it's
portrait?
The dark cap T206.
Oh, the Mathewson. Got it. Yeah.
I'm just making sure I didn't.
Actually, another one I didn't show.
Oh, the one I don't have it up
it's
right
in the
now.
safety deposit box. Is I have the Cy Young T206 I'm selling also.
Which one of those?
He's in the Cleveland, the portrait. It has a great background, just a great background, but it's a 1, and it has Cy Young on the top and Cy Young on the back, so it's miscut. So you see both his names, top and bottom, which I think is kind of cool,
Yeah.
Because they would do it like, I don't know, 3 to 5 cards in a row vertically with those T206 cards. When they had the original.
Yeah.
Smaller presses. They couldn't run bigger sheets back then, right? I mean,
I don't know if anyone's ever seen a sheet.
No, they would be much smaller back then too. So, and quite honestly, a totally different form in comparison to how they run now, how they print now.
Are you selling your home run derby maze?
Yeah, right.
I was like, wait a minute. If that's on the table, I need to know about this.
Yeah, I was gonna say the inflection in your voice was, wait a minute, hey.
I have a deal for my home run derby, the Philly player for Mike O is going to buy it.
Okay.
Who is it? Can't remember now, but anyway, I have one.
Yeah, those home run derby cards, they're tough to come by.
Yeah. Yes. Expensive as all. Maze, I mean, forget Mantle,
Yeah.
Well, the thing about those is they're cross-generational too, because a lot of my parents' generation saw those growing up, and then that's when ESPN Classic was blowing up, and so they ran them all the time on there. So our generation saw them. So both generations grew up with them. So there's this nostalgia to those things. Plus, they're super rare. And so you put the combination together, they're really cool.
Yeah, no, they are kind of they're kind of flimsy. They're not very, so they're tough to come by in a higher grade, Sometimes you see them, they're a little wavy on the top or bottom, but no, I'm not going to sell. Got the 1800. Is he kidding me? Maybe
he was referencing call 1-800-PETTY as you need cash. No, 1800 would not.
Petty, he can buy anything he wants. What's he doing?
Yeah.
But, anyway, so it's kind of funny. I mentioned this maybe on your stream, Sammy, but when I first went to these get-togethers, there was 20, 30 of us, and we just say, hey, let's just meet here. Mike would say, hey, let's meet here. So we'd meet. There's 20, 30 of us, but now 100 plus people, and Don Field of Dreams was bringing his cards to sell. You got other people bringing their cards, so it's almost coming like a trade show a little bit for some people to, trade or sell their cards.
It legitimately it was like that, Rick, at the Strongsville show, and I think this is going to be about twice as big. This is going to be really big. So I mean, everywhere, any channel I watch, everybody's talking about the get together, and it's going to be.
Sammy knows because the last get together there was 100 plus people, right, at the Mike's event, and the pizzas, and Dr. Beckett was there, and
that's where I met Sammy. I was still lurking at the time, and I was there.
And then the next night, the Friday night one,
the
Thursday night one is calm. People are talking, conversation. There's some beers flowing, but the Filmington one, the Friday night, is off the hook.
Yeah,
wasn't it
that
at a
one's
bar?
off the hook. That one's.
That was with the big group photo.
Yeah, at the Lowell's Hotel. Mr. Golden, the auction guy, was there with his.
Oh, that's right. He walked through with and Dylan, I think, got drunk off of 2 beers.
Yeah, I mean that one is more like the reception part of the. It's like free flowing, and so that one's kind of a little different.
JR is asking if get together with your cards, trade at the National. That's always what we're doing. So yes,
that'll be happening. If you're going to go to the get together, that will be happening. If you're drunk.
Yeah, Golden was drunk. He was kind of funny. Mangini was Mangini. He had a female handler, and Mangini's taking pictures with her, and it's just kind of funny.
They happened to accidentally show her a lot on the first season of his show. So that's not a coincidence.
Yeah, she was cut. They were cutting her in, and she'd bring in the next segment every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny as all get out, And then just you would have the first time a couple years ago, we turn around, it's like midnight, and there's a trade show, and there's all these kids are selling stuff, we turned around and it was just crazy. And
I just remember last year being, walking in, and you get to the lobby of the Rosemont Convention Center, and people are sitting on the floor when the show was over, and they were still making moves and trading and buying. It was pretty intense, and that I hadn't been to a national in a while. It had been a long time, and that was the first one I'd been to in quite some time. And I just remember thinking to myself, I got to pace myself, and then 90% of my budget was gone in the first 45 minutes I was there. Yeah. And I live about 40 minutes away from the convention center, maybe a half an hour. And I said to myself, I'm not driving back to come back to this get together. So I had to walk the floor all day and just kind of look at stuff that I couldn't buy because I just, blew all my money, and and there was no air condition. Last year it was hot.
Oh yeah.
I have a fun. So I walk out. I took a picture of Dylan, and he's in the middle with a bunch of kids sitting on the floor doing. I was laughing, just kind of funny as all get out.
It's like Where's Waldo? Except
there's Dylan, young guy, not very tall, fits right in with those kids.
Hey guys,
he's making deals. Yeah,
I got some cards. I got some stuff I want to trade. Oh,
now, Rick, let me ask you this. Based on what Jason just said, is your advice, like, when you see it, buy it? Like, you can't walk away from the card. Now, if it's a 50...
when you're, if you're looking for, a 67 Mays, there's a million of them there.
Right.
You can find them centered, off-centered, whatever. But if you're looking for something that you might not
home run
see
derby.
Again,
yeah,
and you have to pay up for it a little bit. I would pay up for it a little bit. In the long run, it's never gonna go. I would buy it.
Well, that's the reason why. That's the reason why I got the Stahlmeyer 54 Mays when I did. Yeah. Because I knew that if I passed on that opportunity and I went to the National to look for it and I found it, chances are I'd be paying a lot more there.
It's going to be gone, literally gone. I've been to, I passed even things that I don't wasn't going to buy, maybe too expensive. I go back to the guy, I constantly go back each day because they buy stuff. People offer them stuff. So the dealers, they reload their inventory. And I see a lot of cards that go, man, this guy, where's all these cards that he had, So they're gone. I remember the first year, 2019, it was a Cy Young, a portrait card. And the guy wanted 2019, $500 for a Cy Young.
Jeez.
And I passed on it. I was thinking, okay, I'll look around. I came back and it was good. No, I'll buy. If it's something that there's not a million of, I would buy it.
Yeah.
Is that a hint, Greg, as to what you're looking for? Is there something out there that's a little more rare?
I don't think. It's like when I was in Strongsville and I was walking around the first night. It was like I'm not shopping in the same aisle as Rick. Like Rick's stuff is like there might be one or two in the whole room.
Right.
The stuff I'm looking for, generally speaking, there might be 20 in the room, but there might only be 4 in the grade range that I can afford, and there might only be 2 in the condition that meets my specifications. So it's not like Rick.
Well, what would be a card roughly? Maybe you already have it or something. What's a card you would be talking about?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to chime in.
No. So just throw it out there, like a 39 play ball DiMaggio. There would be probably in the room. There's probably going to be a dozen.
Yeah, maybe just a dozen.
But there might be, 5 that are, so you just start deducing it down.
I would buy it. Unless it's, they got some of these people, they're just showing off the cards. The guy's older than me. He's been to every national. He just uses his booth as a museum.
Yeah.
Prices are sky. You don't even, they're so high, you don't even want to offer him anything because what's he doing? But if I see a card, I will definitely buy it. That's in my price, and whatever you're looking for. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's so big. This place is so big. I really recommend that you take photos of where you are, the booth number, the card. And so if you need to go back for whatever reason, you'll know where it is because literally you will get lost.
Oh, Chicago particularly. Chicago was ridiculous. There was corners and crevices everywhere you went. I was there all day on Thursday from the time it opened to the time it closed, and I believe I didn't see it all. There were sections I still didn't get. Yeah. And you'd get lost. I'd walk through the Breaker Pavilion 4 times going, I was already here. Just where am I going with this? So, yeah, I heard Cleveland's layout is a little bit nicer than Chicago's. I've obviously never been to one in Cleveland, but I heard the layout's a little more simplified.
Yeah. I would definitely take pictures, write down where you are, booth number. I would take photos too of the whatever, so I can go back and because you just.
Well, I took Rick's advice when I was at Strongsville, and as Orlando shares the same sentiment when I picked up the Bazooka Maze from '59. Yeah,
so that card. Sometimes you only see 2 or 3 of them at the National. People say, well, if it's not at the National, it's, this, that, and everything. There's some cards that are not at the National that you're looking for. And something like that, you're probably only going to see 3 or 4 of them at the National, And so if you really want it.
I love the novelty, the off-brand stuff. I took inspiration from what Dom with Staven Sports Cars was buying last year, and it kind of dove me into that. But watching your channel as well, seeing the stuff that you've been picking up, definitely took a deep dive into that stuff as well.
It feels more like treasure hunting. What you're doing, Rick, is it's like you said when you're talking about that '67 Willie Mays, like you're just talking about, like you're going to see that at every local card show. You're going to see that at 100 times at the National. But what you're doing is you're looking for a needle in a haystack. So when you find it, the high you get from that is so much higher that it definitely is. It's something that can be a little addictive if you start going down that road.
Yeah, definitely.
I do tell people though, don't, if it comes to, I think you said it earlier, Greg, you're not in the pool, you're not in Rick's pool, and nor am I. I have my lane, and there's going to be some mainstream stuff that I'm looking for. And, I know one or two of them might even be on your list, Greg, so we'll have to battle it out for them. There's a couple cards that I'm.
Oh, no battle. I'll help you look for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I got lots on my list. I got way more on my list than I could afford. So if you want something,
that's exactly.
Is there any banks on the list?
On mine?
No, on Greg's.
Well, I mean, it's always on the list. It's always on the list. Yes. But it's not. I don't know why. I can't explain it. It's on the list, but it's not at the top of the list. Even though it's my favorite card, but it'll definitely be a card. I'll go into the National with about 15 cards that I've comped out at each grade and half grade, just so I have an idea that I don't have when I'm there. I can just pull out a paper and go, okay, that's legit. That's way over. That's way under. Just a ballpark. Yep. And then I can move off of that. But it'll be one of the 15 for sure. But there will be about 15 cards on the list for me.
I am doing the exact same thing. There'll be 15 to 20 cards on the list. That might be one of them. It's not necessarily at the top. Although I will say this, I am okay with lower grade stuff if the eye appeal is there. So that doesn't bother me as much. But I would say that's probably not at the top of my list. And some of the mainstream, I'm torn right now between, do I stay focused on the projects I'm working on, or do I get that card that I want that's outside of all the projects I'm currently working on? So I'm working on the 56 Hall of Fame set. I'm working on White Sox Hall of Famers who played with the team for 5 years. I'm working on certain things, but I really want a 53 Satchel Paige, right? So that's kind of not in the realm of my projects, but if I see one there and it's right for me, I'm pulling the trigger, and the projects will have to wait that much longer then. So
I got to go here in just a second, but I have one more question for Rick. One of the things that I see every year is a lot of the prices on online auctions dip a little bit right before the National, because people are kind of on this buying freeze to save up for the National. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? Do you ever look to buy on auctions now and use your National money now if that right card pops up? Or are you a guy who says, no, I'll just kind of be patient and go to the National and see what I see? Or do you see that, or do you have an opinion on that?
Oh, one, I bought cards on eBay during the National. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm that addictive to at night. I'll go home at the hotel or whatever. I'm looking on eBay before I go to bed, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I will, you know what, if I could go to the National and not pick up anything, I think this year. Like there's Leland's auctions coming up. I look at all the auction houses. Yeah. Even if they don't buy, it's a museum. All these places, Leland's, Heritage. So there's a card on Heritage. There's a card on Leland's that's coming up this month, and I'm going to put offers in. And if I win the card, I'm still going after that big boy card. But I'm not going to. I'll buy it here. I'll just go to the National.
Yeah.
It's not as fun, like you're saying. If you see the card the first day and you buy it, in your 3 days you're just in the corner going, now what I do,
Right.
And so you have to play that game too. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
right.
Oh man, if you spend everything at the first night, then you're going, oh man. So no, because there's cards I see on auctions that I won't see at the National.
Yeah. I think if that were something that I were to do, I'd just become somebody's wingman. I'd just be another set of eyes for a couple of friends. I know Sammy basically did what I just asked about, is he bought the big card that he was going to be looking for. And he's like, that took a lot of my funds, and now I'm going to help people look for stuff. And that can be fun too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I could go and just hang out, literally go and hang out at the evenings. And there's 12, me and 11 other guys where I'm staying,
Yeah.
It's just going to be the night things and walking around, shooting a bull.
The House of Misfit Toys.
Yeah, House of Misfit. I mean, I don't need to, most years I only buy a few things anyway.
Yeah. All right, guys, I got to bounce, but it was nice talking to y'all.
All right, Greg, nice seeing you.
See you guys. All right.
See you later. Ah, man. Good times had by everybody.
Yeah, it's starting. National talk is kicking off. It's starting.
Yeah.
Getting close.
But a lot to look forward to. I have a crap ton of cards in front of me that I need to organize for this upcoming Sunday show. But I got a bulk of it ready to go. As I mentioned, a nice little dollar box. I'll show one little thing from the dollar box. I got to pick out the right one. How about a nice 67 Steve Carlton?
It's a great card.
It's a nice filler card to go with anybody's set, or a well-loved Mazeroski.
In second year too.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff there. Should be a lot of fun.
You know, when you go to the National too, I never go through a glance at dollar. Let's say I'll see a thing that says Giants or something like that, or whatever. I'll glance through it, but I can't spend the time. You go through dollar boxes all day long. You know, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And people have, the old collectors will have in a rubber band a stack of cards,
right?
Whatever it is. I just don't. I don't know. The time just flies by. It's hard to do that, and you probably miss a lot of stuff. You know?
That is typically my last day, Rick. I'll try to balance out and spread the money out a little bit, and then the last day when the budget and the funds are low, then I start to dollar box dive and pile dive and pick up what I can at that point in time.
Yeah.
Just reading the chat that is Jake staying with the Misfits? Duke was asking and saying that he was denied since the application.
He's not there.
He's staying with you, isn't he, Sammy?
Yeah, no, he is.
Yeah, right. Application denied.
Application denied. So Jake is hanging out with Dom, myself, and Drew from A Vintage Legacy. So we'll be straggling along. I'm sure Jake will be eyeing over and seeing the Misfits group hanging out together and thinking, wish I could hang out with those guys instead.
Yeah, he spent one night with us last couple years ago when all his Mike and everyone left. So he spent the Saturday night with hanging with us. So.
I'm sure it's a madhouse over there.
I'm expecting to close something down with Chris from Missouri. That was fun for me. Whatever it is, if it's a bar, a restaurant, I'm expecting to close it down with Chris.
I want one of those hats. How do you get one of those Chris hats?
I got one.
I wonder if it'll fit my big head, though. That's the only thing. I don't know.
Yeah, mine barely fits my big head.
They're adjustable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I need one of those.
That's coming with me. Everybody's gear that I have is going to be I'm going to wear it for about 4 days. You know, I've got some Scott's T-shirts. All of it's got to be worn. You got to represent everybody else.
I forgot that Jake isn't that tall. He can't see what's in the cases. He needs a step ladder to step up and see what.
He's perfect size to go through those dollar boxes. There's the bend over and all. You
just rifle through them.
Well, he was doing the whole thing on the 54 Redman tobacco cards.
Yeah.
And, who has a bargain bin box of those? Is Stan from Stan's Vintage. He has a huge bargain bin box of those 50s Redman tobacco cards.
Were they tabbed? I didn't see that.
They maybe some. They were like low grade stuff, but there was some names in there. I remember seeing him because he comes to all the big shows, like in the area. But,
yeah, he hits the Chicago shows. He's a big dealer.
Yeah, but you should check that out. He usually has it right near where he has like his 60% off bargain box, where I picked up a Monty Irvin 52 card from him that day.
Okay.
Had it marked at $100 and I got it for 40. So.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
It was a low grade with nice look to it.
Sure.
So.
Sammy, you're selling that. Did you sell that Stallmeyer Monty Irvin?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one of those. That's a great card.
Yeah.
Tough issue.
I sold it to a viewer. A viewer reached out to me, and we negotiated, and I sold it to him. I sent it over to him. He emailed me the other, like it was like last week, said he got it, really happy with it. So,
oh, that's a great card.
Yeah. Came back at 2. It was
2 is even high grade for that.
I know. It was it's funny because it was sold to me. I thought it was a 54 because the 54 and 55s look identical, but it turned out to be a 55, which is fine because I mean it really doesn't matter. I mean that card is tough no matter what year it is, and it's roughly goes for the same price anyway. But that was a good find.
You have the maze, right?
Yep, that was the. I'll go fetch it. Let me go.
Yep, I have the maze too. I like to get the Briggs meat maze. That's even tougher.
Yeah,
again, living in a different pool, I was actually looking for the Wilson Franks possible Nelly Fox is what I'll be looking for national as well. It's another project I started. I'm like, all right, I'll do a Nelly Fox run, being a Sox fan and fairly inexpensive. So
yeah, look at that.
That's beautiful.
Go solo for this one. I think this card deserves it.
Absolutely.
But
now, how plentiful will those be at the National? Because there's just not a lot of them out there.
No, they wouldn't be. There'll be a few. That's it.
Okay.
My understanding is that there's about if I remember last looking at the pop reports, like somewhere in the 30s or somewhere, and the majority, I think like 18 or 19 of them are ones, and then the rest are distributed. And the highest graded one was the one that Ash had for a while, and he recently sold it for about $150,000. It was a PSA. I think it was PSA 9.
Wow.
I can't remember if it was SGC or PSA, but it was. Yeah, I remember seeing it in his display case, and I mean, it's.
Weren't those actually in the package?
Yeah, that's my understanding is that they were in the package, and I don't know if this is the case or not, but with the hot dogs in the grocery stores, they were frozen. Buy them frozen, so you let them thaw. But I mean, you rip the packaging open, it's going to damage the card.
There's a coating. There's a coating on them,
Okay.
Kind of protects them somewhat.
But a 9. How in God's name does it even exist?
But a fun fact about Stahlmeyer is that Stahlmeyer, you know how like every stadium has their own vendor hot dog brand that they go with. The Stahlmeyer had an agreement with the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Yankees to be their official hot dog for their stadiums at the time. So there's actually I did a whole video on their showcasing their website because they have a great website that's really well done, and you can read about the history of Stahlmeyer. And
well, they picked the right teams. That's for dang sure.
Yeah. Well, they were in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the same image. I think the Monty Irvin, the
same one. Yeah, Dan the Dandies. That's super cool.
Oh, you want to see cool? This is a cool one. You want to see a cool card?
Absolutely.
This is the 1955 All-American Sports Club.
Oh, I love that set. That is super awesome.
Wow.
These are tough.
Yeah.
The maze is tough. I think it's tough because people don't want to get rid of them. They have them and they're in their collection.
Isn't that's the All-American? That's multi-sport, right?
Yeah, there's a
Bill Russell
rookie, I guess you.
Yeah, that one. I have that one on my list, but I know it's so out of my range. I just have it just for
You don't see. I mean, you literally don't see this one very often.
No, it's such a cool card. But yeah,
that'd be something like at the National. If I saw it, I would get it. If it wasn't astronomical,
Right.
Well, that's the one place, I guess. It seems to be the one place to find stuff like that. So I thought Strongsville's sort of like that, I guess. I mean, finding the Bazooka Maze was something I would find there, but I wouldn't find that anywhere else. Or maybe the Philly show, because the dealer I bought it from sets up at the Philly show as well. So
he's at all the Chicago shows, Sam.
William Chappell. Yeah, he'll be at the National for sure.
Yeah.
I hope they have because last year at the Chicago, I mean, it was all spread out. You had vintage over here, and another room they had vintage. And years past, they would have right when you walked in, there was all the vintage there. And this past year, just you had to literally go through the whole place.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chicago wasn't very well organized. It really wasn't. I mean, it was just a kind of a mess.
But we'll see what happens. All right, guys. I think I'm going to cut it here at this time. We're hitting the 2-hour mark, so thank you guys Rick. Thank you for reaching out. And
yes, Rick, nice talking to you. Thank you for having me.
We'll see you in a month and a half, right?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Everybody watching, thank you for watching. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.